Hi there, welcome in. Today we're going to be talking about two recent interviews that were conducted by the BBC. The first being Andrew Tate, the second being Phillip Schofield. Now, a straight up disclaimer to right from the bat, this isn't for or against Andrew Tate or Phillip Schofield. This video is about how the BBC have conducted themselves. So first and foremost, the BBC, if you don't already know, they're the primary kind of broadcasting company in the UK. They are the people that we actually pay our TV licence for over here. They are the ones that get the money. So you'd think that this broadcaster is straight down the line, considering it's supposed to be a public entity and it's funded by the public too. But if these two recent interviews are anything to go by, there's a definite deficit here. So let's look into it. A couple of days ago, I watched the interview with Andrew Tate and a woman called Lucy, I believe, from the BBC. The full-length video was dropped, start to finish. You even see the guys with the clappers there. There's interruptions through the middle of the interview. Things are stopped and they discuss things, and it's just very, very unprofessionally laid out. In deep contrast to that, if you look at the interview with Phillip Schofield, the video that's been dropped to the full interview of that has an intro, it's well edited, and it's literally a polished documentary style interview, which has a clear motive which is set out from the very beginning, which is to tell the story of what's been going on. So first up, the Phillip Schofield interview. The interviewer starts off by mentioning that he's had a very, very tough time and asks him how he is.
Philip, thank you for speaking to me and to the BBC. You've had quite the week. How are you?
Andrew Tate's interviewer doesn't do this. She even doesn't say, hi, how are you? None of that. She just says, Andrew Tate.
Andrew Tate.
Hello.
She just comes across straight away as very hostile. As you can see in this next clip, Phillip Schofield is given time to formulate his answers and deliver them without being interrupted.
When did you last speak to him?
As I engaged the lawyer for him.
During Andrew Tate's first kind of reply, he's interrupted by her and she tries to change the direction of what's been said and guides him away from what she's actually just got him to start talking about.
I don't think the concern's about the things I say. I think the concern is for the level of influence I have and the reach I have. I would argue that a lot of the things that are already out there inside of the legacy media and the matrix as a whole are far more damaging than the things I say.
It's the concern about the influence you have being a harmful influence, but let's start with the allegation.
Because of this hostility and this interruption, I believe that then sets the tone for this whole thing. And Andrew does a little bit of that himself. Phillip's treated with respect throughout the interview. And the interviewer only really interrupts him if he needs a bit of clarification or he wants to expand on a certain detail.
He asked if he could visit the studios, work experience type of thing. I said, well, you come down and have a look for sure, which he did.
How old was he when he made that first, there's two stages there. How old was he when he first said to you, I'm interested in television? Was he 18 by that point?
19 then, I would think.
He was 19 by then. And then when he said, could I come and have work experience, he would have been older than 19.
Well, just a more or less about the same time, because I'd organised it.
Andrew's interviewer seems to get more agitated and more hostile as the interview progresses. She seems to repeat a lot of the questions over and over again, and I don't know whether she's come completely unprepared, whether she's thrown off a little bit, or whether she's just not had the responses from Andrew that she wants. Andrew's team actually intervene at quite a few points of this interview to stop this from happening, and to reiterate the point, he's already answered the question. Yet, she still asked the same question over again.
I'm not answering your questions.
Well then we need to change the dynamic of this interview because, and I'll make this clear, I allowed you into my home. I'm doing you a favor, giving you the first interview I'm giving to the public. You don't come here with a position of authority. You're not the police. I don't respect the BBC. I don't know you. You do not come here with a position of authority over me. We are equals. We are people. We're citizens of the world, and we sit here as equals. And I see you as my equal, and if you ask me questions, I can ask you questions back. For you to come here and sit down and pretend you're the Gestapo and that you don't have to answer my questions is disingenuous because I don't owe you anything.
Asking questions and you answer.
But I don't owe, no.
However you want.
This is a conversation, and I don't owe you any degree of authority over me. So let's make that clear. And that doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman or from the BBC or the CNN. I'm here to answer your questions and be honest with you and do you a favor.
Great.
And I'm doing you a favor. But you come here with loaded questions. You're trying to paint a narrative of me which is negative.
I'm asking you about things you've said that people are concerned about.
And that's fine. But you're not going to sit here and say you don't answer my questions because you're not above me.
This is also not supposed to be a third degree. It's supposed to be a conversation.
Let's investigate the fact that
I think you should answer my questions properly.
I already have, and we should move on. She's just trying to start an argument.
You also said that a woman's intimate parts belong to her male partner. It would help if you answered the question.
I've answered every question so far.
Let me ask another question.
Sure.
You have said that a woman's intimate parts belong to her male partner, and if she goes on OnlyFans, he is entitled to a cut of her income.
You should watch the show. Do some research.
Do you believe it?
You already answered
I've already answered the question.
Not really.
Of course I have. Can we move on? I've answered the question.
Do you believe that a woman's intimate parts belong to her male partner?
Of course not. I've just answered the question.
You just answered that. You said exactly that.
We've done that 3 times.
The BBC production team then actually stopped the interview halfway through, and I think it's the producer or somebody like that starts to speak to the interviewer, and she basically tells her what to say, which is just a repackaged version of the question that she just asked 5 times over already.
Has gone crazy, and the legacy media has gone crazy. Most people at home are still relatively sane, and these are the people who are going to write on the comments that Andrew isn't saying anything that's outlandish.
These are the two values that are totally overrated.
It's the whole world believes these things.
I don't know why
You said a judge.
No, I'm saying that these organizations and the BBC who are going to sit here and pretend that I am the face of damaging the youth is absolutely garbage. It's completely disingenuous.
It makes you
and the
wonder.
reason
I'm sorry, we have agreed to do an interview where you are going to ask questions that are going to give us the opportunity to clarify some things. These are very loaded questions. And so far, I'm sorry, I have arranged this and I'm talking right now. So, these are very loaded questions, and this is not what we discussed, and this is not the conversation that we agreed to.
We were very clear that the questions
You're sitting there and just accusing. We're not here to face new allegations. This has all been discussed, answers have been provided, so if we could please move on from this side of the interview, I would appreciate it.
And I've got to give it to Andrew here. In the midst of all her hostility, he still tries to find ways to compliment her and try and get her to ease up a little bit. But this has zero impact.
Correct.
With a Bugatti and a cigar, but it comes with a side order of misogyny.
How does having a Bugatti and a cigar come with misogyny?
Because it's all mixed together in what you teach. You teach that if a woman comes home and accuses you of cheating, you should hit her with a machete, shove her off.
Is that what I teach?
That's what you say.
No, if you actually watch the clip, it will be about the woman attacking me with a machete. As usual, you've not watched the video, taken it out of context, flipped it, and attempted to attack me with a small excerpt. Let me tell you something, Lucy. I'm sure you're a very nice person. I'm sure you're a fantastic person. But if I were to take everything you've ever said online and just take small excerpts out of context, I could make you look like a misogynist.
Going back to the Phillip Schofield interview, you can see actually that the interviewer is a lot more comfortable with asking heavy questions, and they're much better received.
People would say the circumstances are as follows here. You met someone who was a child, you were in a position of power over them, you used your power eventually to give them something they craved, which was a shot at a job in the media, you nurtured a relationship, and then that relationship became sexual. And they might ask, what's the difference between that and grooming?
Well, I would say that the initial list of things was not right anyway.
In conclusion, it's quite clear that the BBC are trying to follow some sort of agenda here. You know what I mean? I think that they purposefully picked out that woman who went up against Andrew Tate because she was abrasive, and that maybe they thought that if she repeated questions that it was going to get his back up and it would have made him look like an idiot. Andrew Tate's just spent 91 days in jail. He's not been convicted of a crime ever in any country. Yet he's being treated like that. And then when you look at Phillip Schofield, who's quite happily admitted that he had unprofessional, unwise relationship, whether you want to call that grooming or an abuse of his position of power, he was treated with respect. And I just think Andrew should have been treated with that same respect. I put links to both videos down in the description below. Please like and subscribe to the channel as well, and I'll see you in the next one.